companies. Why is that? You think that would be a no-brainer, right? Why is that? It's because of the lobbying influence of those prescription drug companies and their big moneyed influence in our politics over lawmakers, where they're the ones who are helping shape policy that benefits them and that hurts the people. I was just talking with someone yesterday who was telling me about a specific prescription drug that when it was first patented, put on the market, it was $40 per dose. That company then went and sold or was bought out by another company. That $40 turned into $4,000 per dose. That company was then sold or sold the drug to another company. Guess where it went from there? $40,000 per dose. Who benefits from this? We certainly do not. We certainly do not. This is one example of many. We can go down the list. We see the big influence of these giant oil companies, fossil fuel corporations, who are literally taking money out of our pockets. Close to $30 billion every year goes to subsidize their business, make it so they can make more money, while we have people scraping by just to survive. See this in the criminal justice system, private prisons, literally profiting off the backs of the American people, with a business model that's built on keeping more and more people in prison, rather than seeing how do we reduce recidivism rates? How do we help people? How do we help people get back on a right path in their life? See this in the marijuana industry, right? The opioid crisis that we're facing, there's a lot of people who are saying, rightly so, we've got to do something serious to address the opioid crisis in this country. Yet too few leaders in Washington are willing to do one thing that could actually help a lot, which is to end the federal marijuana prohibition. To see how whether you choose to use marijuana or smoke marijuana or not, that's not even the point here. The point is that in states that have legalized either medicinal marijuana or adult use, there has been a direct correlation in reducing the numbers of people who are addicted to opioids and reducing the numbers of opioid-related deaths. So why has this not been passed into law? We have too many self-serving politicians in Washington who are more interested in looking out for their own career, their own political interests, rather than listening to and serving the needs of the American people. And that's why we're gathered here today. That's what is at the heart of our campaign, is to build this people-powered movement, taking no contributions from PACs or lobbyists. A campaign that is fueled purely by each and every one of you. To truly fulfill that vision that the founders of this country had. To truly achieve a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Putting the well-being of people ahead of profits. Serving the interests of all Americans ahead of partisan political differences. Putting the well-being of our people and our planet above all else. That is what this is about. These values of service above self, bringing that to the forefront. Yes, in the White House, to every part of the administration, to every federal agency, creating this culture of service to the people rather than serving one's selfish interests. Then we can come together and really begin to solve the challenges that we face. We can do things like passing major legislation like Medicare for All. Which very simply addresses the point that every sick American in this country deserves to be able to get the care they need. We can reform the criminal justice system by passing legislation like the one I've introduced, the only bipartisan bill in Congress that will end the federal marijuana prohibition, completely taking it off the controlled substances list.
Yeah.
Ending the cash bail system. Reforming the sentencing system. That's broken. Thank you. Make sure I'm not going to fall back on it. Got my back. Thank you. These are serious reforms that will have a direct impact on people's lives. Making the kinds of bold investments that we need to make to protect our environment, to address climate change, to make sure that every American in this country has clean water to drink. Clean water, clean air. When you think about it, these are the most fundamental necessities and rights that each of us has. Right? When we're born into this world, what's the first thing that every one of us does? Take a breath. We cannot live and survive without clean water and clean air. But there are so many people in small towns and cities in this country who don't have clean water. In the United States of America, clean water is not something that we can take for granted. Making these kinds of changes require big action, require strong leadership, and they require all of us standing up and making sure that our voices are heard. Because even as those in Washington believe they have the power, we have the opportunity to remind them that the power is with the people. That when you cast your vote, when you cast your vote, you are hiring me, you are hiring every single person, local, state, federal level. We work for you and are accountable only to you. So let's make sure we exercise that power. Now, in order to do these things, in order to make the kinds of investments that we need to make, to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, to address the dire needs of our healthcare system, to improve our education, to protect our environment, we've got to address one central issue. And that issue is the cost of war. We know and we recognize that since 9/11 alone, $6 to $8 trillion have been spent on waging wasteful regime change wars in other countries, in other parts of the world. Wars that have been counter to our interests. They have undermined our national security, strengthening terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They've taken a heavy toll on my brothers and sisters in uniform. Troops who are sent off to fight in these wars, leaving behind their loved ones, putting their lives on the line. These wars dishonor their great service and sacrifice. People who, like me, we raised our right hand to serve and protect this country and the American people, not to be sent off to fight another country's battles somewhere else in the world. I served in a medical unit in Iraq during my first deployment in 2005, where every single day I saw that high human cost of war. Friends of mine who never came home. This is something that's deeply personal for me. For those of us who have served and who have seen that cost and that loss firsthand. The toll that it takes on the people in the countries where we wage these wars. The lives lost. The suffering that has increased. The devastation and destruction that occurs as a result. And for what? For what? The reality is, though, that for those of us here who may not have worn the uniform, who may not have the same experience that I've had, the reality is every single one of us pays the price for these wars. Because that money that is spent is coming out of our pockets. It's coming out of our pockets. Hard-earned taxpayer dollars going to pay for more of these wasteful, counterproductive wars. Dollars that are not going towards healthcare, towards our environment, towards clean water, towards rebuilding our infrastructure, towards education. The great and urgent needs that we have in this country. That's the change that I seek to bring to the White House. Bringing the experience that I have serving as a soldier over 16 years in the Army National Guard. Deploying twice to the Middle East. Serving in Congress for over 6 years on the Foreign Affairs and the Armed Services Committees. Bringing that experience to the most important responsibility the President has as Commander-in-Chief. To end these wasteful regime change wars. to work to end We've got to work to end this new Cold War that we are in. Ever-escalating tensions between the United States and nuclear-armed countries like Russia and China, pushing us closer and closer to the brink of nuclear catastrophe. An arms race that's been kicked off that's making us less safe in this country and costing us even more money, trillions more dollars. You think about where this is going and what the consequences are. We should all experience a wake-up call that drives us to take action. A little over a year ago in Hawaii, we had that wake-up call. It was early Saturday morning on a Saturday just like this, on a beautiful day in Hawaii, when over 1 million phones buzzed and lit up with an alert that came from our state civil defense. Seeing a lot of nodding heads, you know what I'm talking about. This alert that said, missile incoming towards Hawaii, seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. I ask you to just pause for a moment as we're gathered here in this room and think about if our phones went off right now with that message. How would you feel? Who are the people that you would think of? Where are they? Are they somewhere safe? Where can we find shelter? This is what was going through our minds. Where can we find shelter? We had college kids sprinting across campus at the University of Hawaii trying to find shelter. Where do you go? You get this alert, seek shelter. Where do you go? Had a father who lowered his little girl down a manhole thinking that that may be the only place she could be safe. The situation we are in exists because our leaders have failed us in the most offensive and dangerous way. Where you have a whole civil defense system set up, you've got this fancy alert that goes out to all of our phones that says seek shelter immediately, but there is no shelter. If we got that message here, where would you go? Here, in New York City. Subway. I don't know that that's a tested nuclear fallout shelter. The point is they tell us, yeah, sure, go seek shelter. There is no shelter to be found that will protect us not only from the immediate blast of a nuclear bomb, but the nuclear fallout that comes after that, the nuclear winter that occurs as a result, that kills all living things, all plants. So you think about the situation that we're in and who has put us there. The people who are ratcheting up these tensions without actually thinking about what the consequences are and how dangerous they are for us in this country and for the world. This is the change that I seek to bring to the White House as your president and commander-in-chief, but you know that I can't do this alone. You know that the challenges and the obstacles that we face are great. Whether it's the establishment in Washington, the military-industrial complex, those, frankly, people from both political parties who've been dragging us from one regime change war to the next, who've led us into this new Cold War, pushing us to the brink of nuclear catastrophe. The only way we bring about this change is when we, the people, rise up and stand up and say no more. No more. No more. No more. We will stand together. We will stand strong, full of light, full of love, and full of hope because we care for each other. We care for those we love. We care for this country and our planet. And we will do what is necessary to bring about that sea change in leadership and policy that will put people and our planet first. So I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for your support. I got you too.
Have my support.
We have clear eyes about the obstacles that are before us, but we know that when we stand united, there is no obstacle we cannot overcome. And we know that when we stand united, we can and we will bend the arc of history away from war and towards peace and a bright future that is safe and secure with opportunity and justice and equality for every single one of us. We need your help, every single one of you. They've just raised the requirements for the next debates coming up. We'll be in the next 2 debates in June and July, but I need your guys' help to make sure that this message we are talking about continues to be heard in every single part of this country. We need to get at least 130,000 individual donors. Anybody who can give $1 can help us get there. Tulsi2020.com. I need every one of you to both sign yourself up, but also to get at least 5 people to help join us in this movement to make this change. Thank you, thank you, thank you.